Perfect. Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. To start, we'll just ask you to keep your mics muted for the first little part of our presentation here. A little later, we'll invite you to unmute and ask any questions that you have. To begin, we would like to acknowledge that though we are meeting virtually today, the Chester Playhouse operates in Manassquek and Mi'kma'ki, the unceded, unsurrendered land of the Mi'kmaq people. We as an organization honor and uphold the treaties of peace and friendship, and we wish to pay our respects to the elders past and present as we continue to work towards reconciliation in our daily lives. We share this testament as our commitment towards learning and growing, and we hope that you can join us on this journey. We are all treaty people. We are really excited to welcome you here today to share the current state of our plans to rebuild the Chester Playhouse at 22 Pleasant Street in Chester. It's been a journey to get to this point and taken a lot of dedicated, focused work from our team. We're pleased with the solutions that we found and for the opportunities to rebuild a playhouse that is even better equipped to serve our community. We're going to start with a brief update from two of the leads on our project to give us an update of sort of where we've come from and where we're going. After that, we'll open up the floor to questions, any questions that you have. Just to show where we're starting from, I'm going to deftly, almost imperceptibly, as though I do this all the time, show a couple of pictures here. I'm going to share them here. This first picture is where is the almost immediate aftermath of the fire. Not quite the day after, but shortly thereafter, once it was secured to take a photo like this. This is where we're coming from. This next photo shows closer to the state of things today. You can see that the wood inside has been stripped down to the skeleton, leaving the bones of the stage, the workshop behind, and then the green room up top. This is a photo of the ondachi room. Again, mostly stripped down. It's about 3/4 of the way down. The two posts that you see in the middle of the room were either end of the bar that lived there previously. And this final photo is the state of things today, about the state of things today. There's a bit less snow this morning. I thought it would be 0 less snow, but Mother Nature had other plans this morning. So that's where things lay at the moment. To talk about the original vision of the restoration project and what has changed as a consequence of the fire, I'd like to ask you to please welcome to our virtual stage, Susan Crocker. Oh.
Yeah, hi.
There we go.
Welcome, everyone. This is terrific that we've got this participation. As I think you all appreciate, rebuilding the Playhouse as quickly as possible is of critical importance to the municipality, to our community, to the arts community. It's really essential. As we've been communicating with our government funding partners over the last months, we've said, Chester has a hole in the middle of it, and we've got to replace that hole with the vitality of a functioning playhouse, and one that meets or exceeds the original vision of this project. Most of you on the call, I think you all are donors to the project, and you'll recall the conversations that we had as we started down the journey 2.5 years ago, where we knew it was of critical importance that we move the Playhouse up to current standards of comfort, accessibility, and technical performance. And that is what we were set to deliver until the fire. So now we're in an unusual situation. We need to do what we intended to do, but because so much of the building was destroyed, we've got the opportunity to extend the improvements to areas that were really outside of our scope and budget earlier. That includes essentially the second and third floors of the theater, the backstage area. So we'll go into some more details about that. What I want to do before there's an essential element in this rebuild, which is the changes that we have to make in order to satisfy new code requirements that are imposed upon us because of the extent of the fire. So I'm going to turn it over shortly to my colleague, Kirk McCullough from the board, who's leading the construction and has been driving that complex issue of fire protection And he's going to speak about that, about how we'll make sure this is a safe building. But first of all, I just want to show you some of the math. So where we're going from a financial point of view. Okay. So the project, the original project, as it was being completed, was essentially going to be a $1.6 million project. About $843,000 of that was provided by government funders, and the balance from donors across the community in the region. So fully $740,000 was coming from private donations. The new project is going to cost the complete rebuild $3 million. And where the funds come from for that, first of all, there's what we're calling generally, it's the Chester Playhouse contribution. That's the proceeds of insurance, approximately 1.7 to 1.8 million, plus funds that were not yet spent. So within that those insurance proceeds are essentially the equivalent of all the donations and all the grantor funding. So it's only by rebuilding that we realize that investment that all of you and our grantors have made to the project. So how do we raise that 3 million? The 2 million that comes through insurance and our current assets. And then the $1 million, if you can just scroll, Andrew. So we need an additional $1 million. So we approached all of our granting partners with that requirement. This is the sort of allocation that we've proposed to all of them. And we've made the case that because even at $3 million, this project has such a substantial community contribution, we felt that it was important to secure government funding to help with the gap at this point, and to have any need for a private campaign be minimal or really more of a backstop if we run into challenges with the project. So just to give you a current update, the municipality of Chester approved the $200,000. That's $100,000 from their major grant program and a $100,000 contribution from their economic development fund. The Nova Scotia government, that's the NSCCTH, approved $200,000. And we have Danielle Barkhouse to thank so strongly for that. If you see her, just give her the biggest pat on the back. She is delivering for many, many organizations across her region. ACOA last week confirmed a $250,000 investment. And we're currently waiting on the approval from the Department of Heritage. Those of you who have been involved in funding projects will understand that all of them get motivated by the participation of the others. So the fact that Nova Scotia has delivered, ACOA has delivered, means that we're in a very strong position with Heritage. So we are moving forward with construction optimistically. And that brings us to that $3 million budget. As I mentioned, if we have a tight budget, we know it is a difficult building environment. So if we need to have some sort of campaign for additional support, hopefully it will be small and we'll see it coming. So with that, I'm going to now turn it over to Kirk McCullough, my board colleague who has led the construction the last time round, is leading the construction with a very strong team this time round. And Kirk is going to take us directly to the complex issue that's driving the cost difference for the rebuilding. Kirk.
Thank you, Susan. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to go through this very quickly, and then people can ask questions later on. But there's a lot to cover and not much time to cover it in. So generally speaking, when we built the renovation project a year ago, we were grandfathered in terms of a number of the aspects of the National Building Code. But since we had a fire that destroyed the building, the authorities having jurisdiction are not so kind to us this time around, and properly so. So we have to meet the requirements of the code when it comes to fire protection. And that would mean sprinkling, having a building that's sprinklered, which we cannot do because there's the municipal water supply, and having non-combustible construction for the building, which we can't do because it's an 80-year-old building. So and there are other requirements, but those are the two main ones. And the water being really the very difficult one to overcome. So without that, we have to, we follow what's called alternative compliance solutions and retain experts in this regard, Bartlett Engineering. And they have come up with a plan that will give the same level of protection as if we were sprinkled and had non-combustible construction. And they have submitted it to the building inspector, who is the authority having jurisdiction as far as fire goes. And he has accepted it. So we are now in the process of submitting for a building permit that with those measures in it. They include having a steel roof assembly. The old roof was timber beams before, and now it'll be a totally steel construction for the roof. The building will be divided into 3 compartments: the green room and backstage, the theater portion, and the balconies. And then the front of the building, the lobby, the Ondaatje room, and the offices above are 3 separate compartments with fire separation. So any fire starting in one will not be able to progress to the other. And then the attic and so on is another fire separation. So the building is compartmentalized, which is very important for safety. There will be a fire curtain on the proscenium arch. So if a fire starts or the alarm gets triggered, the curtain comes down and separates the stage from the audience to protect the audience from a fire that might start on the stage. Also, there would be vents that open automatically with heat rise above the stage that will vent the smoke and fire out and heat out through these vents, I should say. There will be a beam, which is a beam smoke detection. So it'll be a beam that will pick up smoke in the theater area very quickly should there be a hint of smoke. And of course, smoke detection throughout the building. There'll be enhanced alarms, and there'll be various other measures we've had to take, including creating there was a stairway between the first and second floor of the Ondaatje room that will be encased now, and the stairway going to the 3rd floor will be encased too. So there isn't an open stairwell between floors. It's part of keeping the fire from transmitting to other parts of the building. These measures are necessary mainly because we can't sprinkler the building. If the building was sprinklered, they are very forgiving about a number of the other things, but since we're not sprinklered, then we have to go through, do everything possible to mitigate that. But so that's all in the plans. Costs a lot of money to do this, obviously. But we have to do it, and we are doing it. The other part, that when the building is totally gutted, as you saw in the picture, it gives us the opportunity to rethink the layout a little bit. For example, the stairs that go to the 3rd floor office, you went up to the Ondaatje room, you went across the Ondaatje room, then you went up down a corridor and up a set of stairs. Now they will be immediately adjacent to the stairs going to the 2nd floor and closed off from the Ondaatje room. So it opens up that area for more flexible space. There will be a number of accessibility measures we are taking to enhance accessibility throughout the building. And of course, a number of safety measures, and just functionality is going to improve significantly. So you will notice quite a difference when you go into the building. The other thing we're doing is we're raising the roof in the theater by about 4 feet. So this will give us a lot more height in the theater and room for ductwork and so on above, which we didn't have before. So it's quite an ambitious undertaking. It's a far more complicated project than the renovation that we did before, which was about $1.6 million project. This is $3 million, and that's a challenge to stay within $3 million because of what we have to do and because of the supply side issues at the moment, the supply chain issues, and just the uncertainty and volatility in the market. So we are ordering everything as far as we can in advance to help mitigate against not having things when we need them, specifically, or more in particular, the mechanical equipment and so on. And so we are hope to be underway in the end of April with doing some preparation for the steel roof to be lifted in place, and the steel roof should be put in by the end of May in which case then after that, we just have a project that we can proceed on. So I think that gives you a 5-minute overview of the project, and be happy to discuss it with you if any of the details are of interest. Thanks, Susan. And I think I'm turning it back over to you, Andrew.
Susan.
Susan, back to you, Susan.
Yeah, and I'm just going to do a quick run through the drawing so that people understand and have the context for the theater they knew versus the theater that Kirk is delivering. So Andrew's going to pull these up and we'll just do a bit of a walkthrough, and then at that point open it up for questions. Okay, I just 1 second here. Get back to my notes. Okay, so starting in the entryway, the main entrance, and some of you have seen some of these drawings, but we'll just do an overview because there are many, many changes. The entryway is all about accessibility. It's also an expanded space. You can see the box office is flipped from the right side as you enter to the left side, and that box office itself is accessible to patrons and accessible to any staff or volunteers who might be working in there. Then as you move up into the main part of the lobby, you see that adjacent to the stairs, we have a lift. And this is what makes the entire first floor of the theater accessible. The lobby now features, as its sort of dominant highlight, a bar. And this was a decision we made in the original restoration plan because it was apparent that before a show and at intermission, there was a real hesitancy for audience members to sort of split between the first floor and the second floor. There's a desire for people to be around, be part of the buzz, and convene outside the theater doors. So this is a much more sort of spacious area. We've carved out a really good standing environment for the bar, and as well, the doors entering into the theater on either side are larger. Off the lobby, we have an improved women's washroom. We have a very improved, accessible and all gender washroom. And we have the men's washroom. We know that current practice is to move towards all gender washrooms. Our challenge was that based on the head count of the theater, we still had to have a specific number of stalls. So we had to retain this setup, but we still believe it offers flexibility. As we move into the theater, at the back section, so sort of either side of that bar jut, that the floor is flat. It was never flat before. And the purpose of that is to accommodate seating areas for patrons who arrive in wheelchairs, and as well room with flexible seating for those that are accompanying them. The floor then begins its slope in front of that area down to the stage area. That entire theater, other than the back accessible area, will have comfortable fixed seating as it did before. Before it had fixed seating, it might not have been comfortable, and the new seats will be. And then as we move towards the stage, you see we've got an exit on the left and the right. The one on the left has been expanded to accommodate load-ins for shows. The stage itself, what's changing here are all the things that Kirk and his team are having to bring to bear for fire protection. And you see this fire curtain indicated, the fire curtain pockets. So the combination of the raised ceiling and the proscenium arch have to accommodate a number of things. The fire curtain, film projection screens, draping, sound equipment, and lighting. This is a very complex area at stage front. If you move into the stage, it'll be very similar in size, but importantly, on the right-hand side, there were previously stairs up from the theater floor on the left and on the right. On the right, we've made the decision to forego stairs there for a lift so that the stage is accessible for artists who have that requirement. Then moving to the backstage area, this has historically been a combination of workshop and in effect, the critical backstage space for artists to gather as they're moving on and off the stage. It will now be very much a sort of tightly managed area for storage so that it's as flexible as it needs to be for artists and performers. There will also be an accessible washroom. There was a washroom there before, but it was not accessible. Andrew, if you can flip to the second floor.
Susan, before you
Yeah,
leave that.
sure.
Hear me?
Yes.
One thing I should point out is that the stage is now deeper. We've made the stage, the wall at the back hasn't moved, but the stage itself, the arch has moved forward almost 3 feet. So the stage is the overall stage is no deeper, but the part behind the arch is now deeper. It gives a little more room back there.
That's great. Thanks, Kirk. Okay, moving to the second floor. Here we go. And you can see the new stairs that Kirk was talking about as we move up to the Ondaatje room. Before it was an open staircase with that sort of open sensation from the Ondaatje room. Now it's a closed staircase. It has to be for fire purposes, but it also allows us to scissor up to the third floor. And that in and of itself helps open up the second floor space. So this is still the Ondaatje room, but it will be multi-purpose in terms of its function. You can see the pillar which anchored the bar. The bar was lost in the fire. So we now have sort of the opportunity to have a furnishing program that lets us use this space flexibly for receptions, for pre-show lounging, for meetings, as it is used constantly, for workshops or other parts of programming of the theater. So we'll make sure that we've got a sort of furnishing program that can support a range of activities there. Then as you move towards the balcony, the patron balcony is going to be the the west end of the balcony that Andrew's indicating there. And it will have loose seating so that it's flexible in terms of setup. Then as you move towards the west of the building, there's the projection booth, which will have the heavy duty equipment for film and so forth. It's a room that requires heat protection. And then the open tech booth, which allows our technicians to manage sound and light, or if there's a live theater production, it allows directors to call and observe from an open environment. And we'll also have tech storage. So storage has always been a huge issue in the Playhouse, and just creating some space there means we're going to have a very professional tech setup, one that will be cheered by those that have come to work in the theater on shows before. Moving to the east end of the building, where you see that door out to an external staircase, that's what that is. So if you've been near the Playhouse, you see the external fire escape. That's just the door leading out there. And then if we flip to the other end of the building, the north end, you can see the green room, which sits above the workshop and behind the stage. We're not showing any layout change there at this point, but it will be all completely new space. And it in and of itself can be multi-purpose. And then we'll flip quickly to the third floor.
Susan,
Yes,
I'm going to
please.
jump in again. You may have noticed there was an accessible washroom behind the backstage in the first floor, and there's now one in the second floor, which is new. So behind by the Andrew's pointing it out now. So now there's an accessible washroom on the second floor, which would be very convenient for our staff who are on the third floor. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a washroom up there. So that's the closest we could get. And of course, for users of the second floor, it'll be there already.
And thanks for that, Kirk. We still, I'm not sure if we found the perfect solution yet for accessible movement up that staircase, but we are working on that. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the third floor? This is really Andrew's lair, the office area. But now, rather than being entered through a very convoluted stairway coming east to west, we now just continue on from the stairs up to the Ondaatje room. So it will be opened up, it will be a better space, far more functional, and really protected from the attic, which is itself a fire zone, and which will be very equipment focused, mechanical equipment focused. Kirk, is there anything you want to add on that?
No, I think that's fine. The layout of the office hasn't been finalized yet, as has it the green room, but all the structural elements are all finalized.
Yeah, and I see Don Curry's just asked a question about the green room. The green room will not be accessible. The stairwell going up there is so narrow, but what we are doing backstage is the washroom backstage will be larger than it was before, will be accessible. And so there will be the ability for an artist with a performer with accessibility requirements to get on and off the stage and have a private area to change, etc. And another question has just popped up: how many seats in the theater? Our target number was 176, and that's where we were with the previous design. We may have added back a couple more seats on the balcony, so we'll be in that 176 to 180 number. Okay, and that's, I guess now, Andrew, we can open it up for questions, and whoever's the right person between Andrew, Kirk, or myself can answer them. And you can speak or do chat. Or you can wave. Any questions or comments? It's your theater.
Come on, we didn't do that good a job. There has to be some questions.
Total human number, here's on in the theater with loose seats.
Yeah, I might have not really written that properly, but I'm thinking that there are times when we used to put seats down the side to accommodate slightly more. So what's the fire restriction limit?
The aisles that are there just meet the minimum width for fire exiting based on the number of seats that are there. And it's a formula, and depending on how far you are away from the exit. So we can't add any more seats on the sloped area going down, but there are more. You'd think when we lost the balcony and we would have lost seats, but actually we've gained seats once we got rid of those two stairwells that chewed up a lot of space. So we have the opportunity to add a few more seats back in where the flat accessible area is. If they're not being used for accessibility for wheelchairs. And we have the opportunity, of course, on the balcony, on the west balcony, and we haven't quite finalized how many we could put up there, but it's probably up to 10. Mm-hmm. So the total could well be over 180 when we're finished.
Thank you.
Which is, we were effectively, I think we were 170. We were supposed to be 176 before. I can't remember the numbers exactly, mm-hmm. but we had to close off some of them for safety reasons. So we were about 172 maximum before.
And someone's asked a question about second floor Ondaatje room occupancy. Will we have to get that reassessed, Kirk, with the plans?
There will be a number posted on it, but it hasn't been part of the alternative compliance issue. So it will be, I don't know what the number is, but it certainly will be an issue with putting people up there.
Right. And Andrew, a perfect question here for you.
Yeah, the question in the chat is: your Playhouse Without Walls established new relationships with organizations and venues in the Chester community. How and/or will these continue? Great question. Yes, we've been so grateful to be supported by so many in the community. So many organizations have welcomed us in our time where we are between times on the stage. We do intend to continue our Playhouse Without Walls model. The Playhouse itself will be our home base, certainly for most presentations. But the one advantage of this time is that we've gotten to push further outside of the village of Chester, to go a little further, to bring shows to folks for whom, the drive may have been daunting in the past. We want to continue that. We believe that the performing arts are for everyone. And this is a way we've now developed a model where we can do that. So while we'll be mostly centered at the Playhouse, we do intend to continue to take shows on the road to New Ross, to Chester Basin, to Hubbard's, to extend to all corners of the municipality so we can serve everybody who lives here.
And Andrew, you're just about to, and you'll very soon announce all the spring and summer programming in the Playhouse Without Walls 2022 season. So very exciting shows for everyone.
In fact, spring programming goes on sale tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And we'll be announcing the summer on May the 11th.
And youth programs get announced, the summer camp. So lots of excitement. We're a happening place. Other questions?
I'd like to make a statement. It's Lisa Totman, and I just want to thank the board and Andrew and everyone else who's been involved with the theater for doing such an extraordinary job.
Thank you, Lisa. And it's so nice to see you. We are really missing all of our friends from far who haven't been here as much as they wanted the last few years. And we look forward to welcoming everyone back to Chester this summer for a summer full of theater and music in a variety of venues on your doorstep.
Getting back, just following up on Lisa's comments there. Thank you again, Lisa, but I didn't mention, and because I was speeding through this, that we have a very strong team putting this together. It's the same team that put together the renovation. We're calling this the rebuild. And our project manager, I'm the project lead, but our project manager is Wilson Fitt, who did the health center up here and has done, he's probably the best project manager in the province. They keep calling on him to bail them out on this project and that project. And Sid DeMerick again, back doing the design with Dumac and so on. And Sid and Wilson have donated all their time to this, which is a substantial value to us. And there are other strong members of the team, but I want to single them out in particular.
I'd like to mention Kelly Moore, who is our designer on the project. And Kelly did a great job first time round and has rejoined the team. And she's Chester based. Most of you will know her. So she'll be helping Andrew interpret the functional needs for the Ondaatje room and the offices and the green room into good design.
We're fortunate also to have Planet Construction with Ivan Fitch and Logan Davis back again. They almost finished the job, but not their fault. It burned down at all. So they're going to come back and complete the job. And they were just distraught afterwards. I mean, they're really upset. They took really personal pride. And with when they saw in particular how the community was so upset in the fire out there and people were in tears, they were also in tears. So we're really happy to have them back. They are tremendous to work with. And the electrical contractors and mechanical contractors have all commented how good they are as the general contractor to work with, local boys.
Yeah. And we have very strong technical support for the project. So engage directly with Andrew and helping us make sure that sound, light, and everything that's needed for performers in our environment and for the audience experience really comes together.
I can respond to Ann Lambert has made a comment here. Thanks for the update. Plans look great. Clearly a lot of thought and hard work has gone into this. Just to piggyback off that, it has been a lot of hard work, a lot of big challenges as Kirk and Susan have alluded to. On top of that, throughout the process, our goal has been to borrow the phrase, to build back better, to seize any opportunity to improve on what came before so that we can better serve the community. So we're aiming to have our rebuilt Playhouse be more accessible, greener, and better equipped to serve our patrons, our artists, and our community. And we're really confident that in the new space, we'll continue to raise the quality of our presentations, and the Playhouse will rise again as a top-tier intimate venue for music, theater, film, youth programming, community programming, and more.
Great. That's the right wrap. It's a wrap.
Wasn't intending to close things off, but if
Very
there are
good.
any other questions, we're happy to take them, or of course, by all means, reach out online, info@chesterplayhouse.ca. Check out our new website as well. There'll be information posted there throughout, and our newsletter comes out every week.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.